This research is based on the economic impact of COVID-19 pandemic on the ecotourism industry. This will begin by addressing the study's background in order to introduce the main title's history. The subheading will be followed by the content, the problem description, research objective, research question survey as subheadings to offer a clear summary of the study's goal. One of the most important economic drivers in the country is tourism. Of course, the country charms make it a destination worth visiting for tourists. Malaysia, with its diverse range of places and locals, each with their own character, is popular to the destination both to foreign and domestic visitors. Ecotourism especially popular with places with natural beauty. However, since in COVID-19, this has had an insignificant impact on the tourism industry, particularly to the ecotourism sector. However, there are some problems that the government must face as it works to improve the tourism sector. Security and criminal dangers are among them, particularly in Sabah coastal waters and along the Thai border. The visa application procedure is also a barrier, resulting in the loss of many foreign tourists, particularly from China. As a result, the Malaysian government has launched the National Tourism Policy, DPN 2020-2030, which aims to boost the country's tourism industry. The government has also looked into the losses of tourism centres owned by Suffolk in order to assist them in maintaining the ecotourism. According to the United Nations World Tourism Organization, the number of international tourists in the world may decline by 20 to 30% in 2020 compared to the prediction growth of 3 to 4% in the beginning of this year. This could result in the tourism industry losses of 30 to 50 billion ringgit on the travel agencies in the ecotourism during this COVID-19 pandemic. The Malaysian government does not allow people to move states and districts without an illegitimate reason, according to the newspaper. This is because they want to curb the COVID-19 pandemic, which continues to spread to locations that are recovering from the COVID-19 pandemic. Cross-state mobility is forbidden across the United States, and cross-district movement is also forbidden in Movement Control Order, MCO. According to Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin, the overall loss in this tourism sector from January to February 2020 was expected to be 3.37 billion ringgit owing to coronavirus transmission.
Okay, I will present about objective research. Okay, in our research objective, we'll make a study related to several factors and effects of COVID-19 pandemic transmission on national ecotourism. Okay, among them to identify the impact of pandemic on ecotourism agency in Malaysia. This is for a more depth knowledge or relating to national travel agency. Okay. In addition, we'll conduct research to study the effect on the of other pandemic on travel agency. And for example, we can cut is the economic downturn of tourism that the country has had to bear. Our final objective research is to find out the solution pathway on measure that can be taken to overcome that spread of COVID-19. This is because various measures have been taken to ensure that the country tourism sectors, especially ecotourism, recover, which has been done by the government. Okay, thank you.
I will present about research question. First is, what is the relationship between international tourists in impact of the economic recession of ecotourism during the COVID-19 among travel agency in Malaysia? 2 is, how Movement Control Order MCO give impact to economic ecotourism in Malaysia. 3 is, what is the relationship between job loss and the effect of the COVID-19 pandemic in Malaysia?
For today, I will explain about the significance of research. Based on the research study, the significance research divide into two parts, which are the managerial aspect and the literature aspect. In managerial aspect, the impact of economy in ecotourism will be reviewed, which will help them in discussion making about the current condition. Economy global. We have the tourism sector, especially when Malaysia decide to make a movement counter order. The research can be referenced to understand the situation, pandemic nowadays, and the big effect in tourism sector. Hence, the travel agency need to understand and find another alternative because this process it take too long time. In aspect literatures, it may to expose the student about the research to give a different perspective than just sharing the journal concept. Student expose the real environment and the important international and domestic tourists.
Today I would like to explain about literature review. COVID-19 has had a harmful impact on resident, financial, health, mental well-being around the world. Travel and tourism are widely regarded as the economic and financial backbone of the planet. Without it, the global economy will suffer greatly in the year ahead in terms of financial, social, mental. International tourism declined by 27% in QI 2020 according to the report provided by the United Nations World Tourism Organization UNWTO. And the predicted trend of loss by the end of 2020 is likely to hit 60% to 80%. The tourism industry has already seen a 67% decrease in tourist mobility. Lastly, the impact of COVID-19 in Malaysia has slowly slowed the Visit Malaysia 2020 campaign. Because 64% of Malaysian tourists come from China, Singapore, Indonesia, all of which have been severely damaged by the pandemic. A significant number of tourists comes to Malaysia has declined or have been cancelled because of this pandemic. So that's all.
The hypotheses in the study are to find out whether there are any correlations or relationship between dependent variables and independent variables. Hypothesis 1, there is a significant relationship between international tourists and domestic tourists in the impact of the economic recession of ecotourism during the COVID-19 among travel agencies in Malaysia. Hypothesis 2, there is a significant relationship how movement control order MCO can give impact to economic ecotourism in Malaysia. Hypothesis 3, there is a significant relationship between jobless and the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic in Malaysia.
In Malaysia, the tourism sector is the most important sector in the country. The tourism sector contributes the most in the economic sector. But after the outbreak of COVID-19, domestic tourists are no longer of one economic resources. Domestic tourists are less likely to travel in such situation. The absence of international tourists and domestic tourists is significant from the previous year. Various alternatives have been done by the government to promote national tourism. These have given a breadth to the National Tourism Agency, but in 2019 the country tourism sector has somewhat declined due to the contagion of the pandemic epidemic. Next, the outbreak of COVID-19 in Malaysia was evaluated seriously by the Malaysian government as the World Health Organization laid forth a mechanism for ensuring that the transmission to the disease was not widespread. Because of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Tourism, Art and Culture has cancelled the ongoing Visit Malaysia Years campaign. It might affect the government objective to reach 30 million people during the Malaysia 2020 campaign. The world economy will suffer mostly in terms of financial, social and people's mental health aspect in the years ahead. Thank you.
In conclusion, through Chapter 1, the researcher is clearer on the study as decide the research design, population and sampling procedure, instrument and data analysis. This chapter also explains about how the questionnaire is being conducted and how the questionnaire can be applied in this research. Meanwhile, in this chapter 2, the independent variables and dependent variables of the study will be discussed. This chapter also conduct how literature review, hypothesis and conceptual framework apply in this research. That's all from us. Thank you.